across the tortured landscapes of no man's land, where shattered spires claw toward the ashen sky, and rusted wire tangles like ivy over ruined churches and crumbling mosques. The ground bears witness to a truth that neither soldier nor scholar dares to speak aloud. The dead do not rest here. The Great War, an unending conflict that has long since lost any semblance of cause or conclusion, has turned every sacred site into a battlefield. Temples are now strongholds, cathedrals bunkers, shrines and masjids reduced to scorched out shells by fire, shelling, and despite. Cemeteries, once devoted to solemn rest, are now clawed open by bombardment, their bones scattered and mingled with the fresh dead. Even burial is not final. Trenches cut across old graves, while soldiers tread without reverence atop what were once holy resting places. But if the living have forgotten the sanctity of the soil, the land itself has not. It remembers and it reacts. For when heretics perish upon hallowed ground, corrupted souls whose life desecrated all that was holy, they are not granted the peace of oblivion. Heaven rejects them, and hell will not claim them. The spiritual poisons of their heresies deny them even damnation, and so they rise, shambling from their shallow craters and desecrated altars. They re-enter the Great War as something twisted, half dead and unholy. Thus is born the trench ghost, a revenant cursed to fight until time itself crumbles. A trench ghost is not a zombie, nor is it a true spirit of any sense. It is a hybrid horror, suspended between corporal decay and spiritual entrapment. The physical bodies of the ghosts are ruinous, flesh eaten by gas, limbs torn by shrapnel, eyes burned out by chemical fog, and yet they move, not by muscles or blood, but through will alone, a terrible will, forged in hatred, shame, and longing. They retain fragments of memory, the drill routines, the barked orders of their captains, the feel of cold steel in hand. Torn gas masks are affixed to their ruined faces like relics. Some bear regimental insignia, rotted and unreadable, but still clutched in dead hands like they mean something. Their hands grasp bolt-action rifles, broken bayonets, and trench knives worn to the nub. They fight not out of strategy or alliance, but from a lingering compulsion of a war that they can never win, and a life that they can never reclaim. More than anything, they hate. They envy the living who still breathe, who still feel warmth and pain. Even those pitiful wretches, twisted by the Black Grail, themselves cursed and malformed, are envied by the ghosts for possessing what they lack, even the briefest spark of life. In their empty state, the trench ghosts attack all others. It matters not if the target is faithful, heretic, or unaligned. If it lives, it must die, and if it cannot die, it must be hunted, harassed, hated, and remembered as an enemy. During the day, when the sun, though muted by eternal smoke, still dares to shine over the ravaged earth, trench ghosts become shadows. They haunt underground tunnels, twisted bunkers, and collapsed pillboxes. Cellars that once stored wine or ammunition now house only death. These structures become their lairs, where they linger in ambush or hold mock vigils for fallen comrades, whispering names no one else can remember. By night, when the mists rise and the winds howl, the trench ghosts march. They form assault groups, silently flanking living patrols, studying them, and attacking them. They attack with shocking unity, storming out of the darkness in coordinated raids Their bullets are rusted, their blades dulled, yet their will gives these tools deadly force. More terrifying is their silence. No screams, no roars, only the sickening rhythm of boots, the grind of bone on gravel, and the whispering of their dead commanders. Though their war has no goal, and their leaders no divine mandate, they still cling to the routine of military life. When not fighting, they drill. They hold meetings in bombed-out ruins. They simulate patrols, inspect gear, and bury their own dead. Even if these burials are meaningless, in some strange, horrifying way, the trench ghosts find comfort in this structure. It is the last thing that ties them to their memories. And disturbingly, they still seek wealth, not to spend or enjoy, such pleasures are long gone, but to possess. They loot every battlefield for ducats, weapons, medals, artworks, and religious relics. These are stockpiled in cryptic hoards deep within ruined buildings. Why they do this is unknown. Perhaps, even in undeath, greed remains a form of prayer. Despite their shattered memories and decayed minds, the trench ghosts cling fiercely to the structures of rank and command. In death, as in life, they are obsessed with hierarchy, order, and obedience. Their warbands are not formless mobs, but operate under a rigid system of undead aristocracy, mimicking the regiments they once served. Orders are still shouted, though no breath animates the lungs, and formations still held, even when their purpose has long since faded. At the lowest levels are the wretched, the most recently fallen, solitary revenants who have just risen and not yet been absorbed into a warband. Aimless and desperate, they often wander until they are discovered, captured, or recruited. Above them are the line ghosts, fully integrated soldiers who march in lockstep, take part in drills, and obey without question. These make up the bulk of any trench ghost force. More unusual are the specialists, spectres who retain fragments of former skills. Undead snipers nest in shattered bell towers, waiting days or weeks without food or water for the perfect shot. For what do the dead need of the living sustenance? Engineers rebuild trenches and repurpose barbed wire into grotesque sculptures. Ghost medics, utterly ineffectual in function, still move among their comrades in mock attempts to bind wounds that no longer bleed. They do so not from compassion, but out of duty, etched so deep it survives even death. At the pinnacle of this inverted hierarchy are the ghost priests, captains, and generals, dead officers and clergy who now serve as warlords and rulers. These figures no longer answer to any earthly command. In undeath, they appoint themselves as king and queens of their own grim fiefdoms, holding dominion over ruined basilicas, crumbling fortresses, and blighted plains. They hold court, issue proclamations, and adjudicate imagined disputes among the dead. The parody of nobility is deliberate, yet more tragic than comic. Some of these undead aristocrats grow more powerful with time. Through ritual, hatred, and sheer will, they ascend into spectral tyrants known as Ghost Kings. Draped in robes of rot, crowned with bone and rusted steel, these self-proclaimed monarchs rule their ghostly legions with iron wills and festering egos. They create elaborate rituals of court, appointing dukes, marquises, scribes, and executioners, all drawn from their spectral ranks. But this power is hollow. Their decrees have no meaning. Their titles are mockeries, and they know it. Among the most feared manifestation of Ghost Kings are their tank palanquins, rolling thrones of death and vanity. These monstrous vehicles, cobbled together from shattered tanks, broken artillery, and salvaged armor are not powered by fuel or engines. Instead, they are driven by the tormented souls of lesser ghosts, bound into servitude through chains, barbed hooks, or arcane rites. A ghost king might ride into the battle atop such a war engine, seated upon a makeshift throne welded into the tank's turret. Around them flicker spectral pennants, relics of long-forgotten victories. Guns bristle from every angle, some operable, others merely ceremonial. Banners of vanquished foes hang from its flanks, tied in place with razor wire. Yet, no diesel drives it forward. Instead, the souls of the damned pull it literally. Some harnessed like beasts of burden, dragging the machines with superhuman agony. Others are ground into ash and stuffed into engines, their howls echoing through rusted vents as the tank lurches forward, animated by torment. Tank palanquins serve as mobile courtrooms, weapon platforms, and symbols of power. They are grotesque processions of pride, surrounded by retinues of undead standard bearers and ghostly choirs. Some even include clerks, phantom scribes, who recite the victories of their lord in endless, droning verses, a spectral bureaucracy that tries in vain to justify their ruler's dominion. To the living, the sounds of these tanks is a harbinger of doom. The deep rumble of metal dragged across stone, the keening wails of enslaved spirits, the flicker of hellish searchlights through the mist. All of it signals only one thing. Death rides again, armored in pride and decay. Despite their common plight, trench ghosts do not know unity. They are fragmented by vanity, pride, and old hatreds. Ghost kings are jealous of one another's titles. Captains challenge each other to duels over ruined watchtowers. Warbands wage pointless campaigns over useless ground, the dead squabbling like children, and entire ghostly armies vanishing into internecine war. Each warband believes itself truer than the rest. Each ghost king sees their rivals as impostors. Some claim divine sanctions for their titles, others accuse their enemies of false history, of fabricating past glories. These ideological disputes often result in ghost-on-ghost warfare, silent, merciless, and endless. What emerges from this is not madness, but a kind of dark metaphysics. The trench ghosts cling to war not only because they must, but because it is the only thing that gives them meaning. War is their identity, their justification, their god. To stop would be to confront the abyss, to recognize the futility of their continued existence. In rare moments of calm, some ghosts sit among the ruins and remember. They carve memorials to friends who no longer answer muster. They whisper to the wind. They stare into nothing, and then, without fail, they return to the trenches, to the drills, to the slaughter, for it is all they know. The tale of the trench ghosts is one of damnation without judgment, warfare without meaning, eternity without peace. These spectral remnants of the heretic dead are not punished in fire, nor are they rewarded with paradise. Instead, they are simply left to rot, left to march, left to remember, and most of all, left to forget. There is no redemption for a trench ghost. They cannot repent, for their souls are shackled by the corruption that claimed them in life. Nor can they ascend, for heaven denies them entry. Even hell, that pit of divine wrath, refuses them, perhaps because there is no punishment left to inflict upon them that they have not already endured. They are too polluted for paradise, and too purposeless for perdition. the liminal state, is what gives the trench ghosts their monstrous power. They are driven by absence, by the absence of hope, the absence of finality, and the absence of purpose. Their rage comes not from vengeance, but from hollowness. They do not hate the living because of what was done to them, but because the living still possess something that the ghosts never will again: life and possibility. Even those who destroy the semi-corporeal form of trench ghosts are not truly victorious. The spirit lingers, trapped in soot, wind, ash, and memory. It whispers along the barbed wire. It clings to shattered helmets and rusted rifles. It waits in bunkers and foxholes for the next poor soul to disturb the cursed earth. These are not spirits seeking justice. They do not cry out for burial rites or vengeance. They cry out because they do not know how to stop. The doctrines of the faithful offer little solace. The heretics have no true theology of afterlife, only ambition and power. And so, when their earthly power is stripped away, nothing remains to guide them. The Black Grail offers mutation, possession, and damnation, but at least it's something. The trench ghosts have nothing but repetition. Where the Grail touch scream in pain, the ghosts scream in boredom. No Man's Land is thus transformed into more than a battlefield. It has become a purgatory, a wasteland of trapped souls and broken ideals. Its trenches are filled not only with corpses, but with meaninglessness made manifest. The sacred sites where they fall, temples, churches, masjids, and shrines, are silent witnesses to a spiritual catastrophe. These places, once brimming with human hope, now serve the haunted halls for the lost. Perhaps the land itself remembers. Perhaps it is desecration of these holy places that curse the trench ghosts to this fate. Or perhaps their own death is not punishment at all, but a reflection. A mirror held up to a world that worshipped war, ambition, and hierarchy more than truth, peace, or grace. And if that is true, then the trench ghosts are not merely the damned, they are prophecy. A future where war is eternal, glory is an illusion, and even death cannot save you. So beware the foggy night in No Man's Land. Beware the sound of boots marching without breath. Beware the glint of shattered metals and the glimmer of bayonets held by hands long dead. Beware the tank palanquin, its engines growing and groaning, the souls of the betrayed. Beware the kings of dust, crowned with wire, laughing into the void. For once the eyes of a trench ghost has seen you, there may be no going back. Not to life, not to death, not to anything at all. So, trench ghosts. I think this is one of the most interesting stories of how a faction was created in Crusade. This is one of the newer ones. Well, not new, but not one of the originally planned ones. This was actually originally made as a fan faction, a fan's idea, and they found the idea of trench ghosts so well fitting and so interesting that they added it into the game itself. I think that shows exactly what Crusade is about. It is such a fan-based world that I feel it will be incredibly welcoming to people's own creations. Like, if Trench Ghosts, a fan idea, can get put into the game itself by the creators because they like it so much and felt it was very on brand for their game, what else are they willing to do with fans? I feel this just helps the community grow. Also, I love the Trench Ghosts. I think their lore is fascinating. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's very interesting. Of course, there would be ghosts in Trench Crusade, because, hey, look, souls exist, heaven exists, hells exist, there's going to be ghosts. So I just think they've so far explored it very well. I assume there's more to come on them, but I don't know when we'll get that. Because I have a feeling they're focusing more on the Temple of Metamorphosis now, which I just made a video on. So if you haven't seen that, click this. I'm going to see if I can do one of those things where I put in a ad thingy and it's like, hey, click this video here. I'm going to try to do that. So yeah, click that. That's my video on the Temple of Metamorphosis. I hope you have enjoyed this video. It is again one of the shorter ones because obviously trench coats don't exist in real life. So I can't compare them to the real life history since they don't have one. Next video coming out is the surprise video on a surprise lore on a surprise world. It will be a long one, I think, so it might take a while. It might take 5 or 6 days. Because I'm writing the script currently and it might be around 10,000 words. So it might be over an hour long. So I hope you appreciate it. I know it probably won't get many views, but I want to talk to you guys about this world because I've been playing the game so much recently and I just need more people playing this game. It's so good. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed. Please like, share if you can. Please, it really helps the algorithm. Comment as well, also helps the algorithm. I'd really like to grow a bit more. We're nearly at 2,100 already, like, that's insane. So please subscribe as well if you're not already subscribed. Wait, hold on, I can do the thing. According to YouTube, only 8.2% of you are subscribed. If we had even 50% of you guys subscribed, even 10%, even 20%, we'd be up to 5 to 10k by now. So, you could be that 10-20%. Please subscribe. This is a really sad graph to look at. Hope you have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.